This is the Personal Branding Success in 10 Minutes podcast. I am your host, Kaitlin Zhang.
And I am your host, Dannielle Bardowell. So, what inspired you to do personal branding?
I started my career in Canada, where I studied art and design and branding. So I was always already on a branding journey. In 2013, I was working in the US for a bit in San Francisco, and I decided actually it wasn't really the right country for me. So I decided to move somewhere else creative, somewhere else exciting, and ended up in London because quite a few of my university professors graduated from London design schools. So I wanted to come to Europe to see what the design scene is here, what are some opportunities. My first job here was working as a branding and PR person in a small tech startup in London. And one day the CEO came in after a meeting with an investor, and she was a bit flustered and she was a bit worried because the investors were saying that they didn't want to give her funding for the company because they loved her idea. They thought the product was perfectly good. The business idea is great, but they weren't so sure about who the team is. They had no idea who any of us are, who the CEO was. There wasn't enough information presented online about the team. So we had to work on our personal branding to help investors understand that we can actually deliver the business vision. So that's my first touch on personal branding. Of course, I had the basic stuff like CVs and a little bit of a LinkedIn before then, but I never really thought that personal branding was going to help entrepreneurs get investment, and it's so crucial. So I thought maybe there's a business opportunity here if I can develop a business to help people. In particular, in the beginning, I was working with entrepreneurs a lot to help them with raising funding. So helping build their brand online, getting more visible. So I started doing that, and then that kind of became its own thing and became kind of my core focus of my business, Oval Branding, right now.
So you worked with a lot of tech founders, entrepreneurs, and venture capitalists. What draws you to this specific niche? Because there's different things that you can involve yourself with personal branding, like fashion and stuff. So why this specific niche?
Yeah. So there are two kind of main focuses that I do. One of them is a personal branding online. So I don't really tell people what clothes they should wear. That's really much to do with offline and styling. That's not really what my job is about. It's about helping people become more visible on the internet. Secondly, I started my job because I needed to find, who are the people that could benefit from personal branding at the start. So they would be paying clients. And that turned out to be people who are raising money. So, for example, for venture capitalists that I've worked with, a lot of them are in China. So in China, people don't know who a lot of the VCs are, people in the West, I mean. And they needed to build up their brand profile outside of China. So I step in to come in to help them on the Western internet, like Google and LinkedIn and social medias and different media platforms to help them build a brand. I mean, as a result, some of the companies that we've helped have raised up to I think recent clients, 200 million USD in funding just through we did help them, support them in that journey to help build not only the founders, CEO, and partners brands, but also teaching their China team, how to build their brand and LinkedIn profiles so that investors are comfortable and to invest into their business. So hence why I started with kind of tech founders, entrepreneurs, and venture capitalists. But in the end, I think it could benefit a lot of other people. And we worked with clients such as artists, authors, athletes, musicians, government officials, just individual people in the companies and businesses. So all walks of life, anyone could benefit from building up and improving their personal brand.
It sounds like you have really extensive experience, and that's just impressive. So, is your drive the same as it was when you first started, given everything that you've gone through and so forth?
I think it's only gotten more. Hence why, I'm launching this podcast on personal branding after running like 20 events in a year before. I'm interested in doing a personal branding masterclass, which I'm building at the moment, because I recently ran a workshop for the Financial Times for women in business in Asia. And the feedback that I got was, oh my gosh, it's a huge amount of content packed into 1 hour of workshop, and it's just not enough time. So that's why I wanted to break out the steps into smaller bits in this segment, in this podcast, smaller bits, as well as in the course in smaller chunks and videos, so that I can impact as many people as possible on their journey to building their personal brand. I think it's only really shown to me in the last couple of years, especially with remote working, with the pandemic. You're not going to meet people face to face as much. So there's even bigger opportunities for people who have done a good job promoting themselves online.
I understand what you're saying with that. So what was your key takeaway from your failures?
Yeah, of course, running any business is going to be things to learn from. I think the most important thing is to listen to your gut feeling. Sometimes we are quite picky in terms of the clients we work with, because we've worked with clients that eventually find out they're mostly interested in boosting their ego, and just it's all about only building their brand without any value added to people that do follow them. If it's only about making you look good, that's not good enough. So I think we want to try to work with people who are interested in building a brand so that they can help other people and provide value to other people. I think the pandemic, as well as everything else, has taught us that we have to be selective in our niche that we're working with. Can't be everything to everyone. That doesn't work for a brand. That doesn't work for a personal brand. So just becoming a little bit more focused on the specific areas you can serve and the specific people you can serve, so that you can grow.
It sounds like it's very important to focus on giving and what you can give and what value you can add to the people that you help in personal branding.
That's all it's about. That's everything. That's everything to business, in my opinion. I also wanted to ask you a couple questions, Dannielle. What draws you to personal branding then?
Well, I'd say ever since I was a child, I was more intrigued by the way things were presented to the public eye, especially like packaging. So I would more so buy a toy or ask my parents to buy a toy because of the branding and the packaging more so than the toy itself. So as I got older, I realized how important it is to brand yourself, and how you represent yourself to the public eye is so important, whether you're selling a product or you're just looking to build relationships. So I pursued a career with marketing and social media, and I just enjoyed helping people put their style guide together, help them pick out how they wear their clothes, to take photo shoots, and help them build their logo. The whole process with branding yourself is just something I've always been drawn to. And if it's one thing that will make me want to work with someone or buy something, it's how it was branded.
Yeah, that's so true. I think there are a lot of big companies that have like a founder personality. And then when you hear their stories and when you see how they presented their brand, and what inspires them to do their business, that really drives the consumer to be loyal to that brand and to support their cause. So what are some of the things that you've learned in your personal branding journey? Have you anything surprising?
One thing that surprises me is how the internet makes everything small. It makes the world such a small place. You think that people don't know you when lots of people know you. So it alludes to how careful you have to be with how you present yourself online, especially.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Another thing I learned, and I would say this is the main thing, and I would say I learned this from you, is how simplicity is so important in the way we present ourselves, whether it's with your logo, the colors you choose to associate yourself with, the graphics you use, everything. I think it revolves around simplicity and subtlety. I think it goes a long way, I would say.
Absolutely. I think for a brand needs to be consistent. It needs to be presented almost in the same way all the time. That's why we have brand guides and style guides to help us. So that if your messaging is consistent and you do act in a way that aligns with your value and your message, people will take notice. Thank you so much. It was so fun to hear your journey and your story.
You're welcome. It was great having this conversation with you, as always.
This episode is produced by Oval Branding, a London-based award-winning branding agency that serves corporate clients and personal clients around the world. Visit ovalbranding.com to contact us about your next marketing project. I am Kaitlin Zhang. Thank you for listening.